Hi, everyone that's coming in. I'm so happy to see that you guys are right here at 6:01. You're prompt, you're ready to be here and spend time with us and celebrate Isabel Allende. So thank you for taking the time to be here. And as I said, spend time with girls right now and Mattel today. All right, so whether you know us or not, I think at this point we are really known for our opening lines. We like to start all of our events with a question that will ground you in the conversation that we'll be engaging today or in the themes or whatever it is that we're exploring. So today your opening lines are: reflect on the moment when you feel a deep connection to your roots or heritage. Write about how this experience has shaped your understanding of yourself and your place in the world. What lessons did you learn from your past that you carry into your present? So you're gonna have about 5 minutes to write, and then I'll give everyone the opportunity to share, whether in the chat or if you'd like to share a lot. So talk a little bit about her. And by a little bit, I mean I'm on the deep dive, and I'm here to put you on if you don't already know how fantastic Isabel Allende is. Isabel Allende, she was born in Lima, Peru, to Chilean parents on August 2nd, 1942. She shares her birthday with my mom, so she's already fantastic. She worked as a journalist and a television personality in Chile until she and her family were unfortunately forced to flee to Venezuela in 1975. This happened after the assassination of her father's cousin and first socialist president of Chile, Salvador Allende, which his assassination was in 1971. But this fact right here is really what became the inception to the person who we know now. After the exile, it was a self-imposed exile in 1975. She lived in Venezuela for 13 years. And in that exile, in around, excuse me again, in around 1981, she was writing a letter to her 99-year-old grandfather who was dying. And that letter, wildly enough, that is the magic of the universe, how alignment really, really works, is that that letter was what ultimately became the manuscript for her first novel, La Casa de los Espíritus, The House of Spirits, which I saw a few people in the chat saying that's one of her favorite books. So this first novel, this amazing, amazing book that she wrote was inspired by, and not even inspired by, it came to her as a letter that she wrote for her grandfather. La Casa de los Espíritus was published in 1982 and is considered magical realism. In her website, when she talks about her writing style, she mentions that she sees her work as realistic literature. It's rooted in her remarkable upbringing and the mystical people and events that just ultimately fuels her imagination and how she approaches writing to begin with. She also explains that her work is equally informed by feminist convictions, her commitment to social justice, and the harsh political realities that shaped her destiny, as I mentioned in the beginning, that self-imposed exile to Venezuela. So she already had an impressive writing career before she wrote La Casa de los Espíritus, The House of Spirits. She was co-founder and contributor of the women's magazine, Cal Paula. This was the first feminist magazine in Chile. So that's already an amazing, amazing accomplishment. She was also the editor of Mampato, which is a children's magazine in Chile. And she was also a columnist in El Nacional, which is a Venezuelan newspaper that she worked at. So after her first novel, though, it's clear that this really was the moment that she decided to give her heart, her entire being to the craft of writing literature and storytelling overall. So after publishing La Casa de los Espíritus in 1982, she went on to write 27 more books, which is just so wild and just so amazing, and something to be so proud of, to come from the life that she did and to have been able to achieve all the things that she did. As I said, write 27 more books, including 4 nonfiction books and a YA trilogy. And I saw that she's actually publishing a children's book this year. So she's still out here. She still has so many other stories to tell. And I'm so happy to know, that the work is continuing and storytelling for her doesn't really end. She has had her stories translated into 42 different languages, which is amazing. She's also had 80 million copies sold, and who knows how many others, who knows how accurate that number really is. She has also had 15 international honorary doctorates, more than 60 awards in over 15 countries, 2 feature-length films, which you'll see in the coming slides here. Right here, she has 2 feature-length films, And she's had her literary works adapted for plays, musicals, operas, ballets, radio programs, you name it. It's clear that her work resonates with so many people through so many industries and so many different just mediums of expression. So it's really beautiful that people have gotten to interact with her work in those ways as well. So we're going to learn a little bit about her foundation. For those that don't know, Isabel Allende has her own nonprofit organization called the Isabel Allende Foundation. It was inspired by a book that she wrote. Somebody mentioned it in the chat as well. It's her first nonfiction book called Paula. This was published in 1994. And this was a book that was written almost as a letter. And we see a pattern here when it comes to Isabel Allende and letters. But this was written as a letter to her daughter, who unfortunately at the age of 29 died of a hereditary blood disease called porphyria. And so this unfortunate and horrific event that happened to her because of that time that she took to grieve and to mourn. During that time, she was actually called to create the Isabel Allende Foundation. She was inspired to take all of the profits that the book Paula was bringing in, and she wanted to create this nonprofit organization, as I mentioned, that opened in December 1996 in honor of her daughter Paula. So when she talks about the inception of the foundation, she says that she, as in Paula, cared deeply for others. When in doubt, her motto was, "What is the most generous thing to do?" My foundation, based on her ideals and service and compassion, was created to continue her work. A little bit more about the foundation. It supports nonprofits in Chile and California that provide vulnerable women and children access to healthcare, education, protection for violence, and reproductive self-determination. And through its Espíritu grants, Espíritu means spirit, through the Espíritu grants, the foundation also supports a small number of organizations worldwide whose exemplary work is aligned with the foundation's areas of interest. And the foundation is doing amazing. It has awarded grants to more than 100 nonprofits worldwide, and who knows, we can only know what they show us, but think about the amazing effects that it's having beyond the physical, the actual effects that it's having on people and how much is inspiring women, girls, and just people around the world. And so most recently, she was awarded the Premio Nacional de Literatura, which is a Chilean national prize in literature. This was in 2010. She also, as you see a picture there of Obama, she received the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2014. The Penn Center is USA's Lifetime Achievement Award and was inducted into the California Hall of Fame in 2016. She received the Medal for Distinguished Contribution. The list is wild. She received the Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters from the National Book Foundation in 2018. And as we all know, the reason why we are here today, she has also been honored by the Barbie Inspiring Women series with a doll that was inspired by her lifetime of telling stories of women and girls, and that'll never stop because she's still here and she's still doing that work. So all of that, if you did not know, now you know. That is Isabel Allende. And now we get the opportunity to actually, the honor really, to really connect with Isabel Allende's agent, whose name is Johanna Castillo. So we're going to bring her up in the virtual stage and get to hear a little bit about her story. All right, amazing. Hi, Johanna, ¿cómo está?
Good. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad. I'm really excited to connect with you and to give our community, a little insight of what it means, not only to be you, Johanna Castillo, but to also be Isabel Allende's agent. I wanted to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Yes, of course. So my name is Johanna Castillo. I'm a literary agent, senior literary agent at Writers House. I have been working in the publishing industry for almost 25 years now, first as an agent, then as an editor at Simon & Schuster for nearly 15 years. And then I went back to agenting 6 years ago now. And I have dedicated my career to publish writers of color in particular and books in translation. I'm from Guayaquil, Ecuador, and that's my story in publishing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of yourself and your story as somebody in publishing, as a Latina in publishing. 25 years, it's That's beautiful. And I'm so happy that you've gotten that experience to be so dedicated to that, to publishing, publishing and helping publish writers of color. So thank you so much for doing that work. And then if anyone here, I know we have a lot of guests, and again, shout out to all of you for being so engaging and just spending time with us today. If you are interested or anyone is interested in becoming a mentee or a mentor, please, please, please go to our website. The link will also be here in the chat. Go to our website, learn about the collaboratory, learn about next steps, what you need to know, because we are very excited to begin this fall cycle and start bringing in more people in spring. We just want you to know and have all that information you need so that you can be ready and prepared to be a part of our community. So make sure to check that out. All right, and then finally, make sure to follow us everywhere. Thank you, thank you, thank you for spending time with us and for helping us celebrate Isabel Allende and the new Barbie doll. And we have 1 minute. So, let's take up that minute to hear Isabel Allende speak to the girls in our community. This was in 2020. So yeah, we'll close out with that.
How do we go into the future now? What's ahead? That's a question that we as women and every young person asks right now, because the future seems dark and uncertain. But let me tell you, I have lived long enough to know that it is not the first time. Many times before, I have gone through very dark periods, personally and also historically, because I have lived through historical events that were pretty dark. I have felt as a young woman, since I was very young, never supported, never respected. I was not supposed to be anything but a mother and a wife, which are great things, but I wanted to do more with my life. And it was not important in my family or in the time that I was born for a woman, for a young girl, to have an education. So I struggled, and then I got different jobs. Eventually, I was a journalist for a while. And then I was already married with 2 children. We had a military coup in Chile. You have no idea what a military coup can be. It's the end of democracy as you know it, of freedom, of the world you know. And something else happens, something else begins, which in our case was a brutal repression. Eventually, I had to get out of my country, and I went into exile. You've heard about refugees, about asylum seekers, about immigrants. Well, I've been all of that. And let me tell you, it's not easy, but you get through it somehow. We don't know how strong we are until we are tested. And you, as young girls, will be tested innumerable times. And from each one of those tests, you come out stronger, and you find in yourself resources that you didn't suspect. Now, how did I find my voice? I didn't have a voice. I didn't have anything. I was already 40 years old, and I had done nothing with my life, really. I was struggling to make a living. That was it. And then I found writing. I started a letter for my grandfather that became my first novel. And that paved the way for all the books that I've written after. I've written 24 books. And each time, each book is a terrible challenge. I spend weeks before I can find the voice, the characters, the story. But it doesn't matter. The process is what is wonderful. So what would I say to you? Don't be afraid of the future. Things happen all the time, but they don't happen all at the same time. So one by one, you sort it out. It's like a huge mountain that you have to move across the road, and you go stone by stone, rock by rock, and eventually it gets done. So that's life, the process, the road, nothing else.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here and sticking it out till 7:02. I hope you have a great evening. And yeah,